We are all thrown into this world. The paths are perhaps paved with intention from a young age, but sometimes our sight becomes blurry. For most people, the very thing they were passionate about as children fades as they age. The thing that once made the right spark becomes an indifferent thing. They become well adjusted to culture, so well adjusted that they kept on burying themselves as the years increased, until it feels like there is no access anymore. They say life is short, but some people live long lives, even though they didn't even reach the average lifespan. Life is short when it is lived unintentionally and distanced, trapped in repeating unfulfilling routines, glued to a personal hamster wheel that spins until it doesn't spin anymore. Accepting the biased perception other people have created of them, so now they go on and defend their character for the rest of their lives. Attached to a character they feel like they're meant to play, and in defense of that personality, it affects everything they do. Most people walk this earth oblivious to themselves, unaware of the potential that lies dormant within them, unconscious of the depth that they could discover, deaf to the things their soul whispers to them, detached from everything they felt throughout their lifetime, blind to their purpose and the very thing that sparks bliss in them. And I think the worst kind of pain is to die one day without having met yourself. Unaware that the most beautiful gift of life is the journey inward. What separates happy people from miserable people is often not determined by circumstances, but the most defining element is the relationship they have with themselves. Master the relationship with yourself, and by that practice, you master the art of being alive. It is something that is cultivated throughout your lifetime, and there is no quick fix to fix the relationship with yourself and the relationship you have with life. Instead, it organically develops. Self-loyalty, inner peace, discipline, self-respect, and dedication will be natural to you, instead of something that you have to motivate yourself for or remind yourself of. The conscious development and exploration of self will never have an end destination. There will be another microcycle within that macrocycle. When one era ends, another one begins, and everything eventually connects as you continue to gain clarity. Within 1 year from now, you will know so much more about yourself than you know today, leave alone even a decade. It's an intense and exciting process to commit to a journey that leads inwards and that only ever unfolds. Genuine commitment to yourself is synonymous with commitment to life. To touch on self-love for a moment, the secret to self-love is to have a relationship with yourself, and you can't ever find out what it means to love yourself when you don't fully commit to yourself, to embrace the complexity of everything your soul carries. I personally think that many people don't understand self-love, and they see it as a one-dimensional thing, that you only have to think positively of yourself and do certain things for yourself to feel good, but that's just one fragment and not the entirety of it. If your only reason to love yourself is to get rid of your emotions, and you expect yourself to never feel any uncomfortable or painful feeling ever again, you miss the entire point of self-love, leave alone building a strong and resilient connection with yourself. For example, some people that are quite interested in the topic of self-love may only find interest in it because they perceive self-love as a shield that protects them from the negative opinion of others. And if they were honest with themselves, they didn't actually care about themselves. They only care about not being vulnerable and not feeling difficult things anymore. That may be the reason why nothing has really worked out for them. Because they don't actually do it for themselves, it's not a result of, I want to build a strong foundation within. Self-love doesn't mean that nothing will hurt you again, and it doesn't mean that you will forever be unemotionally unaffected by the world. The very thing that fundamentally changes is that there is no meaning attached to the things that hurt you. You don't make it mean anything about yourself, and that's why there's no suffering. There will always be pain, but it is the way self-love is not about the outcome. You respond to pain, and the way you handle it makes the difference. You have recognition of anything that occurs within you. You learn to respond in a healthy way, but you're not burdened by the weight of it. Self-love is not even an outcome, rather it is something that organically develops when you commit to yourself and you show up for yourself and you get to know yourself on a deeper level. And the way you show up for yourself again and again is the very thing that naturally builds self-trust. Love is much more a warmth you feel towards yourself, a promise to yourself, and a deep-rooted safety that you feel. You eventually find that you are a universe on its own. Self-love means developing genuine interest in yourself, which results in organic confidence, self-esteem, and radiating authenticity, because you know who you are, and you will continue to discover even more about yourself. And as you build yourself along the way, you constantly expand and find new ways to maximize your potential. The interest in watching yourself grow, evolve over time, and become even more of yourself with the years. Better versions of yourself, stronger versions of yourself, wiser versions of yourself, finding new ways to creatively express yourself, and finding joy in that very process. I see self-love as enjoying yourself and enjoying your experience. Having a bond with yourself equals to having a bond with life and a commitment to life, saying yes to the experience, the journey, and all the seasons of your life. There will be a point in your journey where you can say, no matter how the world moves and what people do and say and do not do and do not say, I am standing by my side. I am my home, and I will never abandon myself, and I will always catch myself and get through every difficult challenge that presents itself. I personally arrived at a point where I can say, I can feel all of this. I can feel my way through and hold myself through it, but it doesn't shatter me. It doesn't take from my confidence. It doesn't change the way I see myself or feel about myself. There's a reason why I feel it, and I don't have to add meaning to it, but I eventually let go of it. I am my safe haven, and everything I'm feeling, I will eventually transform. Even if nobody cares, I care, and I am always enough for myself. Things can hurt me, but they can't destroy me. The things that happen don't burn down the bond I've built with myself. I can wipe these tears, but nothing can break me. Realize that you are the one that has been with yourself from your first breath, and you will be there until your last breath. You are the one that thought every thought. You are the one that felt every emotion. You experienced it all through your perspective. You know all the reasons why you did the things that you did. You survived all of your worst days. You know your darkest thoughts and wildest imaginations. That qualifies you to define yourself better and more accurately than anyone else ever could. For you know the truth about yourself. How can you not have sincere compassion for yourself when you are the only one that experienced the totality of your life experience, including every forgotten detail, every memory that shaped you, every difficulty you had to go through, and everything that had an influence on you, both good or bad? You will discover a strength you never knew before. And by compassion I mean understanding, a recognition that there's a wound within you that still needs your presence, instead of something that you have to talk yourself out of in order to not feel it anymore. It doesn't mean you have to completely attach yourself to emotions that are not so pleasant. Wallowing in your pain and pitying yourself doesn't mean that you are present with yourself, and it is not a sign of emotional regulation. Healthy compassion and healthy self-empathy is more like responding to your emotions, responding to the range of feelings that occur within you, understanding them, reflecting where they came from, and finding ways to solve it. You don't cope your way around difficult emotions. I don't believe in negative emotions at all. I reframe them as uncomfortable or difficult emotions, but they're still valuable because I can learn from them. And at the end of the day, emotions are just emotions. I can feel them and I can let go of them. Self-love is the very thing that is completely unrelated to anything external to you and should be unaffected by other people in any type of circumstance, because nobody can do it for you, and you can't make it depend on anything. I can only love myself when my unwanted circumstances change. I can only love myself when I look a certain way. I can only love myself when at least 3 people approve of me, just to give out some examples. No one can make you love yourself, no matter how hard someone may try to convince you out of your worth, and no matter how hard someone is trying to love you. That love doesn't fully sink into you when you're in a state of self-rejection and you have no idea who you are. You can take in compliments, you can feel good about it for a day or two, but it does not replace feeling good about yourself organically. I am not denying that we as people have social needs, and we do need external connections for a fulfilling life. There are certain needs that you can't give yourself, but you are still responsible for 80%. The other 20% is surrounding yourself with people to have a healthy connection with. However, you will be with yourself until the day you die, and you should not make the relationship with yourself dependent on external circumstances or events, or the presence or the absence of someone. Again, this doesn't mean that missing someone is not okay, or being heartbroken means you don't love yourself and you're doing something wrong. There's a vast difference between being emotionally dependent on other people and being emotionally affected by things. I truly believe in a quote, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. And the way you have relationships with other people fundamentally changes when you reframe what it means to connect to someone. The kind of interest you develop towards the people around you will be nothing compared to the current interest you have in others at this point. Relationships change when the relationship with yourself changes. The limited time that we spend on this planet should make you value the gift of individuality, not only in relation to yourself, but in relation to everyone around you. We are beautiful, unique complexities that only happen once in a lifetime. There may be many things that we share and that make us the same on a shallow perception, but we are truly unique at heart, and that goes by saying, that you can't ever get bored of someone when you comprehend that an individual is an ocean, forever evolving and forever unraveling the mystery that we are and the mystery that life is. What do you live for? What would you define as your purpose? What makes you excited to dedicate your life to? What makes it all worth fighting for? What is it worth the effort? And what makes you worth the effort? What makes you think that I get to do this for myself and I want this for myself, and even the journey of getting there is exciting? To have principles and values to live by, for they become the backbone of your words and actions, and sticking to them as if they are your own version of the Ten Commandments. You have your own values, and you must reflect that with the entirety of your being. It echoes in the things that you believe and what you stand for, and how you treat other people, and how you treat yourself, and how you do things. To be personal, I could say that, as a musician, it is my purpose to create music, but I see so much more to this than just making music. I'm living my purpose every single day, whether I will ultimately achieve certain milestones or not. Just the process of evolving with time and experience fulfills me, and the process of working on ideas excites me. Doing art, whether it is birthed through me in the form of music, poetry, or a painting, is truly something that I dedicate my life to, and which is worth every second of my time. I feel sort of a justification for my existence within that moment of executing my craft. Like, this is why I am here, and why I love to be here for. I cannot separate the self-exploration, self-individuation, healing, and transmutation and self-awareness process from the process of being creative. From my point of view, to truly grasp a piece of art requires an understanding of the inner world, and it requires the ability to see things from multiple perspectives, as well as the emotional components. Instead of saying it is my purpose to be a musician, which is my main focus in the spectrum of creativity, I define my purpose as self-expression with the innate drive for excellence and mastery. And owning that purpose of mine has always made me a very determined and ambitious individual, because I have this enthusiasm about my craft and I want to become excellent and do great things with this passion of mine. I believe that the purpose of physical life is embodiment, the major embodiment, such as being alive and experiencing this world in the first place, embracing its entirety, the mundane and the milestones, the highs and the lows, the dark and the light sides of existence, and the minor embodiment, which is your personal embodiment, something that is unique to everyone and inherent in every individual. Embodiment is inseparable with self-awareness, focus, and presence. The longer you commit to the journey of building a resilient bond with yourself, the deeper that bond grows with time and experience, and simultaneously the bond to life grows. Whether you're already there or not, you will ultimately reach a point where you can say yes to life, yes to whatever the strange experience we call existence throws at me. Let this life reveal itself in its entirety, and I am open to learn from any experience, both beautiful and dark, open to redefine myself through obstacles and breakthroughs, open to transfigure through challenges, and I am open to grow through what I'm going through, to metamorphose throughout the timeline of this life, to never arrive, but to always evolve, to die and be reborn 100 times within one life. When one cycle is completed, another cycle will take its place, life's eternal dance in all of its facets. And the more you practice the art of being with yourself and working through whatever occurs within you, the more rooted in the present moment you become. In 2016, I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I read the book and I could theoretically and intellectually understand it, but to be fair, I wasn't aware what it truly means to be in the now and why he considered it as powerful, because it wasn't something that I had embodied while reading it. It was a concept to me that made sense in my mind, but there wasn't a connection to the experiential part. Over a period of time, I started to understand the obvious difference between authentic embodiment and conceptualization, and what separates knowledge from wisdom, and that wisdom is the embodied and ingrained version of a concept or a truth. Something that I live by is the objective truth that everything just happens once and nothing ever truly repeats. The sunrise is not the same as it was the day before, and today's sunset won't be the same as tomorrow's sunset. So many elements that happen on each given moment that make up each scenery, both reflected in the external world and the universe we carry within ourselves that is entirely our own. I also had times when I was insanely nostalgic over certain past eras of my life, which I considered to be more special than other eras of my life. But while I was in that time frame, I didn't consider the possibility that this would make me nostalgic again in the future. It just happened that I judged these eras as worthy of being considered nostalgic in retrospect. It still sparks nostalgic emotions because I am grateful that I had such beautiful experiences. But it's not that I desperately want to go back in time. And who gets to say that the time frame I am in right now won't make me nostalgic again sometime in the future? I developed an appreciation for all seasons of life, the great ones, the defining ones, and even the difficult ones. And I'm excited about the uncertainty of how things eventually unfold. Everything I'm learning in the future, the souls that I get to know and form a connection with, the memories that will be made and will eventually be perceived as defining moments in my life. Simplicity and complexity complement each other. The appreciation for mundane things and things we take for granted, just as spending time with loved ones, for example. I used to think that I'm happy that I get to have one more day with my loved one, but it is in fact one day less that I get to have with that person, which made me put things into perspective. And I started to value intentional time with everyone much more. Everything is limited, and every phase in life, every experience, and every relationship has an expiration date. My prime concern isn't adding years to life. Instead, I want to add life to the years. Adding life to all moments, regardless of how simple and mundane these moments appear. Conclusively, I am blissfully unaware of how much time I have left. Unaware how many hugs I have left with my loved ones. Unaware how many days I have left doing what I love the most. So I spent my time very intentionally, with my utmost presence, focus, and attention, because I want to make sure that my overall experience of life has been fully lived and appreciated, for I value quality above anything. Ultimately, you can say that the main pattern of life is relationship, and the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for the quality of relationship you have with everything else. That was my first essay. I really enjoyed writing my thoughts down and combining it with moments that I recorded and adding music that I made for the background. I hope you enjoyed this one.